everyone, it's Jamie from Lemon Rebellion. I'm here today with Sandy Swanson. She is a national board certified health and wellness coach and a certified functional health coach. She finds great meaning and purpose in helping others untangle the web of confusion surrounding autoimmune and chronic health issues. Sandy is originally from Wisconsin and visits her family there when she can, traveling via motorcycle when the weather allows. Sandy, that is cool as hell.
I love my motorcycle.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you today. And for those of you that don't know Sandy yet, she's also going to present at Lemon Rebellion, talking about navigating emotions and autoimmune disease. So Sandy, welcome. It's great to see you.
Thanks, Jamie. It's like we went from motorcycles to like autoimmune disease, sad. But it doesn't have to be sad.
Good. Well, I can't wait for you to tell us more about that.
Yeah, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here. So
no, tell us, what is your work like with clients that have been diagnosed with autoimmune disease, and what are some of the emotions that come up from them when they get these diagnoses? How do you help them?
yeah, so I work with mainly clients with autoimmune disease, like you said, and they come to me, overwhelmed is the first word that comes to mind, confused, frustrated. There's sometimes a lot of anger, and there's also a lot of loss, and that brings the grief. And in our culture today, and by culture, I mean not just here in the United States, but modern culture in our world, emotions aren't really, they're not addressed. They're kind of pushed aside. They're not taken seriously. So with my clients, it's never about what they come to coaching for. It's usually there's some emotion underneath that needs to be addressed, that needs to be processed. I mentioned grief. There's a lot of grief that comes with not only diagnosis, but the loss of maybe support, the loss of maybe a social structure, the loss of maybe things you could do physically that you can't do anymore. The loss of eating certain foods you used to love and you just don't eat them anymore. And a lot of that loss results in grief, which is sometimes ignored. So a client might come to me to work on diet, and we end up working on anger or fear or that grief, which in turn helps everything as a result.
Yeah, I can imagine when you receive a diagnosis of an autoimmune disease or chronic disease, you have to rethink, I'm sure, your whole life and how you show up. What are some of the feelings? You've said loss and grief. What other things, and anger, what other things come up from people once they begin to start to make some of those adjustments and start to see how those are changing their lives for how they feel, even though they're carrying this disease with them?
Mm-hmm. I think even before getting to that point, I mentioned overwhelm. Autoimmune disease, there's not a lot known about it. It's changing, the science research studies changing every day, of course. There's not a lot known about it, but then there's so much out there on the Google. And so people come with instructions, advice from their doctors, and then they go on the Google, they go into forums and groups on Facebook, and they get really overwhelmed. So it's not so much that there's other feelings. Of course, there's other feelings there, but it's more the sense of being stuck and just like, what do I do? What do I do? So as a coach, I help them sort of pick apart, untangle. I like to use the analogy of a ball of yarn. And I wish I had a coach when I was first diagnosed about 10 years ago with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I had this tangled up ball of yarn and no one to really help me untangle it. Yeah. But as a coach, that's what I help my clients do. And we untangle like the diet piece, and maybe you need to see a new doctor, and what does that mean to you? And then there is the emotional thread, which can be a long one. But yeah, and the emotional thread is usually the one that ties everything together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's wonderful. So in essence, you help people untangle those parts of life and give them some guidance so they're not stuck in that overwhelm of where do I start? Where do I go for help? You kind of give them a path to follow in a way and hold their hand through down that path.
Right. Well, it's more holding their hand than giving them guidance or telling them what to do. As you know, as a coach, we don't tell people what to do, but we listen, we offer that empathy, and we help them make sense of what's currently in their life and what's currently in their head. So I don't give them the ball of yarn.
Yeah,
They present it, and together we help tease it apart.
that's awesome. That's a great way to explain it.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you've seen some of your clients go through and overcome?
Yeah, so I, I am the autoimmune nutrition coach, and my website, it's on the page autoimmunenutritioncoach.com. And a lot of people come to me because they want to figure out their diet.
Okay.
And I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a licensed dietitian, but diet is important.
Mhm.
And people come to me because they think they have to do a certain kind of diet because they have autoimmune disease. And as it goes, one client in particular is coming to mind. She came to me thinking she had to do the autoimmune protocol, which is a very restrictive dietary protocol. You eliminate foods for 30, 60, 90 days, and then you systematically reintroduce them. It's a lot of work, and it's a great tool. I mean, you can learn a lot about your gut, about your body by doing it, but it's a lot of work. And as we talked and as I coached her, it became apparent she didn't want to do this. And there was so much going on in her life that was already stressful. And she just didn't have the time, the resources, the support to think about it. So yeah, it's never, I just want to say it's never about the diet. It's never about
Yeah.
what you come for. And for her, it was more about seeing where she was authentically and what she wanted. And it turned out she didn't want to change her diet. But even just having that awareness and the knowledge that this is where I'm at right now,
Mhm.
it really, I don't want to say it was healing for her, but it was healing for her. It was helpful and healing for her and her energy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I do love that about the coaching model, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, how coaches don't tell you what to do. They create the space in many ways.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on how you create that space in your coaching practice?
Yeah, I love that idea of creating space. And I do that by listening, by offering a lot of empty space for my clients to think. Again, in our culture, people don't allow that. Even your friends, if you think about talking with your friends, they'll be like, oh, yeah, well, I was there last week and I know what you're going through. And my mom had Hashimoto's, so blah, blah, blah. And you're like sitting there, you're like, but yeah, but this is my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I just need someone to listen. And I don't want to say people don't know how to listen, but it's a lost art. So that's one I really work hard to cultivate. And just offering empathy, normalizing things. It's like you are not alone. You're definitely not alone uh, in what we're going through with autoimmune disease, and it can be very lonely.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
That's great. Well, I think that when we go through anything challenging that kind of shifts our perception of who we are and how we're going to show up in this world, it's so wonderful to have expert guides that can relate to what we're going through. And in your case, you have a personal spirit experience as well, plus all of this training in functional health and health and wellness that can guide people both as a friend and a mentor, and as a specialist that has expert knowledge that can help them cut corners or find healing and grounding kind of maybe more quickly than they would have if they were just trying to go it on their own, and that overwhelm, Googling Dr. Google, looking on Dr. Google for information that scares the life out of us.
Yeah, and I've been there on Dr. Google, and I still am. And I have to pull myself back and go, okay, Swanson, just like chill, just get off the computer and just take a breath. And I'm going to be talking about breathing in my talk, and just how to just be in the moment with emotions, with that overwhelm, frustration. Yeah.
Wonderful. So tell us a little more. What is the talk at Lemon Rebellion going to be about?
Yeah, it's going to be about emotions. Yay.
Okay.
It's going to be about
Tell us what
sadness
can we
and
expect? What can we
grief.
expect?
Be about all sorts of fun things. Yeah, so I'm going to offer some tips and thoughts about how to better process emotions as they come up. And like I said, there's so many emotions that come up with autoimmune disease, grief, loss, frustration, overwhelm, sadness, anger, fear. And I am going to talk through those, talk through, yeah, just some tips and ideas for your audience to better deal with emotions as they come up in the moment, and how to not get sucked in and drown in them, because that's a real possibility. But if we have the tips to be able to navigate them and let them flow, then we'll be better off in the long run overall. Yeah.
Awesome. Is this session specifically for people who have an autoimmune diagnosis, or is it also applicable for others?
It's definitely applicable for everyone.
Mhm.
I have the experience of Hashimoto's, so I'm speaking from that point of view. I've lived it, I'm living it. So that's my point of view. So I can relate to those with autoimmune disease. But when we're talking about emotions, it's like everyone has them. It's
Yeah.
like, and everyone can always do better processing them and really feeling them. And by feeling them, I mean, like, it might take 2 seconds or a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you don't have to make a big deal out of it. But again, in our culture, it's like these things are ignored. And I want to bring some awareness to that.
Awesome. Oh, I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's wonderful that you're joining us at Lemon Rebellion. Any last words before we close out our interview?
No, I promise I won't be a Debbie Downer on this talk. It's about emotion, but it's all good. It's good information, and I hope your audience will enjoy it.
Oh, I know they will. Well, and Sandy, you are nothing like a Debbie Downer from every time we've talked, but it is a serious topic, but that doesn't mean we can't have fun talking about it. So I'm excited for you
Exactly.
again to speak at Lemon Rebellion. Again, this is Sandy Swanson. She's going to be joining us from September 19th to 25th at Lemon Rebellion Virtual Summit. Please come and join us. It's an experience to help equip women to navigate major life changes and transitions with resilience, joy, and ease. And we can't wait to see you there. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks, Sandy.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie.
See ya.